Have you ever felt like there's someone at your job who simply wants to see you on the floor? That colleague who smiles in front of you but keeps trying to undermine your confidence from behind? Even when you do everything right, you deliver results, help the team. It seems that there is always someone there, ready to pull the rug out from under you. And the worst, sometimes it is subtle. It's a cross look, a mean joke at the wrong time, a gossip spread in the cafe. You start to wonder if you're getting paranoid, but deep down you feel that something is wrong going on. Maybe you've been there. Maybe I'm living it now. Envious people, saboteurs disguised as friends, toxic environments where your effort is worth nothing and the backstage game is what really matters. And when you try to defend yourself, it feels like you're overreacting. Ah, so-and-so is just like that, they say. You're very sensitive, they say. But you know they're trying to destabilize you. That your problem is not in you. That there is a veiled persecution, an emotional boycott that exhausts you inside. And that's where the danger lies. It's not just what they say. It's what they do to isolate you, to take the shine off your work, to plant doubt in the minds of others, especially your boss. Often, it is a dirty and silent game that eats away at you little by little, without leaving any evidence. And when you realize it, you are already emotionally drained, unmotivated, wondering if you should really stay in that place. But today, you will turn this game around, because there is a way to protect yourself. There is a way to shield your emotional without having to be aggressive, without having to fight back or wear yourself out trying to convince others that you are right. Today, I'm going to show you how you can become unattainable in your work environment. And it doesn't matter if the saboteur is your colleague, your boss, or even someone on your own team. What matters is that, after learning what I'm going to teach you here, no one else will be able to reach you emotionally. This technique is like an invisible shield. It changes the way you react, how you position yourself, and how people see you. It's not about fighting or clashing head-on. It's about taking control of your energy and protecting your mental health, because at the end of the day, that's what the saboteurs want to destroy. And if you let it, they win. But today, you will no longer allow it. So stay with me until the end of this video, because what I'm going to reveal to you can be the watershed between continuing to suffer in silence or finally gaining the respect you deserve at work. And look, this is worth gold, especially if you have been through situations in which your image has been questioned, your work has been ignored, or you have been wronged by someone who knows how to manipulate the corporate environment very well. We'll talk about emotional games, toxic relationships at work, invisible power dynamics, and how you can become an emotional wall in the face of it all. But before I teach you the technique, you need to understand why these people do it. Because when you discover the real reason behind the sabotage, everything changes. You stop taking it personally and start seeing the hidden structure of the environment in which you are inserted. And that's exactly what I'm going to show you about now. Because as much as it seems personal, it is not. It's not because you laughed at a comment. It's not because you got a compliment from the boss or because you kept quiet in a meeting. What bothers these people, what really drives them crazy, is their brilliance. It is your light. It's the way you show up without having to force it. How do you deliver results without having to suck up to anyone? How do you maintain posture even when you're under pressure? And do you know what this causes? Insecurity in people who are stagnant, in those who live on appearances, in those who want to appear competent but cannot even sustain their own discourse. It's hard to admit, but in the professional environment, being too good is dangerous. Competence, instead of inspiring, often scares. Insecure professionals feel threatened when they realize that there is someone there who delivers more, speaks more clearly, naturally gains respect. You stand out, and that hurts the ego of those who depend on chaos to stay visible. The saboteur doesn't want your Place, because he admires your work. He wants your place because he feels that if you stay there, he will disappear. And that's why he acts in the shadows, because he knows he can't compete head-on. So he does what he knows, spreads doubt, distorts speech, plants the seed of distrust. It uses emotional play, and the worst, many times, he does it in such a subtle way that it doesn't even seem like an attack. It sounds like concern. It seems like a sincere opinion, but it is pure corporate. Poison disguised as kindness. And if you don't understand this mechanism, you start to eat away from the inside. He begins to blame himself, to doubt himself. Was I rude? Was I arrogant? Are they right? And that's where he wins. When you start sabotaging yourself inside, he doesn't even have to do anything else. That's why I need to tell you something that no one has had the courage to tell you until today. The problem has never been you. The problem is how much you bother. The problem is what you represent. Their growth, their emotional intelligence, their professional image. All of this is a mirror of what these people cannot be. And people who don't want to evolve hate those who are on the move. The saboteur can't stand to see you moving forward, being respected, being remembered, receiving praise, because he knows that over time, you become a real threat to his comfort zone. So, do you know what he tries to do? Isolate you. He begins to undermine his reputation. He makes subtle comments around the boss. It starts to take you out of strategic meetings. It excludes you from important conversations. Make a point of appearing close to those who have power, while weakening you behind the scenes. This type of behavior is very common in toxic environments and is often validated by a corporate culture that rewards the politician rather than the competent. How many times have you seen someone get promoted not because they were the best, but because they knew how to play the game? And look, I know it's revolting. It gives a feeling of absurd powerlessness because you work right, give your best, respect others, deliver results, and even so, someone wants to bring you down. And the most absurd? Sometimes people around pretend they don't see. The boss ignores it, the team is silent, and you start to feel alone, like you're overreacting. But you're not exaggerating. What you're feeling is real. Emotional sabotage is real. Silent psychological harassment is real, and this causes profound damage, not only to your career, but to your mental health, your self-esteem, your confidence. There are people who leave a company thinking that the problem is her, when in fact, she was just too good to be there. Yes, I said that, because in toxic companies, good people are seen as a threat. And if you've ever been fired, ignored, silenced, or boycotted without understanding why, maybe that's precisely why. Because you had too much shine for the place where you were. Because you bothered without even realizing it. Because his presence caused discomfort in those who live by appearance and not by surrender. But now, all this needs to stop. You can no longer accept living in this constant tension. You can no longer allow the envy of others to dictate your worth. May the dirty game behind the scenes define your professional trajectory. You're not in the world to walk on eggshells. You are here to grow, to develop, to occupy your space with dignity. And if there are people who can't stand that, their problem. What you need now is armor, emotional shielding, strategic shielding, reputation shielding. And all this starts when you understand the real reason why they want to bring you down, because you are already on the rise, even if you don't realize it, even if he hasn't been promoted yet, even if he doesn't earn the salary he deserves. His behavior, his intelligence, his way of dealing with pressure, of staying calm when everything falls apart. All of this already shows that you are different, that you have something that many around you have not yet developed: professional maturity, posture, equilibrium, ability to see beyond. And that's exactly what you're targeting, because unlike the others, you don't play dirty. You are not part of the clique. You don't need to pull a bag. You stand out for who you are, for what it delivers, for what it represents. And this, in a sick professional environment, is a danger for those who are accommodated. But if you've made it this far in this video, it's because you're tired of swallowing it, tired of pretending it doesn't hurt, tired of pruning yourself so as not to bother. And now the time has come to change that once and for all. The time has come to build your emotional armor, not to become a cold person or inaccessible, but to protect yourself, to be able to continue being you without destroying yourself in the process. And the first step to this change is to know what is the most common mistake that leaves you vulnerable to this type of sabotage. And the first step to this change is to know what is the most common mistake that leaves you vulnerable to this type of sabotage. This mistake is more common than you might think, and that's exactly what the saboteur wants you to commit. Do you know what it is? Trying to justify yourself too much. That's it. The biggest mistake of those who suffer sabotage at work, of those who are the target of intrigue, gossip, or manipulation in the corporate environment. It is to believe that you need to explain yourself all the time, that he needs to convince everyone that he is innocent, that he has good intentions, that he did not do it wrong, and then you get into their game without realizing it. You try to prove yourself right. He tries to show that he did not mean to offend, that he was not to blame, that it was all a misunderstanding, and with each justification of yours, the more the saboteur gets stronger. Because while you spend energy trying to defend yourself, he's manipulating the narrative. He is planting distorted versions of history, telling half-truths with a smile on his face. It makes you seem unstable, insecure, exaggerated. And the more you try to fix the situation, the more you reinforce the image of someone who is trying to hide something. It's cruel, I know, but that's how it works in the toxic environment. And that's why your first defense move needs to be internal. Because the emotional shielding starts here, in your perception. You don't have to join their dance. You don't need to explain yourself to those who have already decided that they will judge you. Do you know that phrase, who explains himself, complicates himself? It has never made as much sense as it does now, because in the corporate world, excessive explanations are seen as weakness, as a desperate attempt to save himself, and that only gives more ammunition to those who want to take you down. Many people believe that showing transparency is the best way to protect themselves, that opening your heart, showing your intentions, and telling everything in the smallest detail will generate empathy. But in practice, what happens is the opposite. You become an easy target. People begin to see you as someone emotionally unregulated, unstable, too fragile for the position you hold or for the environment that requires firmness. And you're not fragile, but you're acting like you are because you're playing by their rules, trying to win a game that was made for you to lose. And there's more. The more you try to prove that you have done nothing wrong, the more you take the focus off what really matters, your posture, your positioning, your steadfastness, its coherence. And it's these things that build a solid reputation. It's not what you say to defend yourself. It's what you transmit without having to open your mouth. It's your look, your energy, the way you react when they try to tease you. And therein lies the secret. Those who have real emotional armor do not react in a predictable way. And it is exactly this predictability that the saboteur seeks. He wants to see you lose control. He wants to see you trying to explain yourself with a trembling voice, with a racing heart, with that look of someone who is begging for understanding. Because at that moment, he achieves what he wanted from the beginning. To destabilize his image, make you look guilty, make your emotions speak louder than your competence. And this in the workplace can be fatal. So if there's one thing you need to learn now, it's not every accusation deserves justification. Not every provocation deserves your attention. What you need to do when you are emotionally attacked at work is to take control of the narrative without saying a word. And this is done with posture, with presence, with emotional intelligence, with self-control. You can't be another one who reacts on impulse, who despairs to explain what happened, who tries to remedy something that has already been manipulated by gossip. Shielding the emotional does not mean turning over a stone or being indifferent. It means choosing where you put your energy. It means learning to be silent when silence protects. It means staying calm when everything around you seems to want to take you off track. And above all, it means staying focused on what really matters, your growth. Because the saboteur wants exactly the opposite. He wants you to get stuck in the reaction cycle, that you wear yourself out trying to convince those who are not interested in the truth. Have you ever stopped to think how many times you wasted time explaining yourself to people who were never really open to listening to you, that they had already formed an opinion before they even heard his side? That's that. This happens all the time in the corporate environment, and the only way to get out of this with your reputation intact is to learn to react strategically. Show steadfastness when everyone expects you to explode. Demonstrate security when they try to destabilize you. And this is not learned overnight, but it starts with a decision. Stop handing over your power to those who don't deserve it. And that's even more urgent if you're surrounded by jealous colleagues, manipulative bosses, or a behind-the-scenes culture where it's not what you deliver, it's what they can say about you. If this is your current scenario, your only way out is to strengthen your emotional intelligence. And for that, you need to stop reacting on automatic, because automatic makes you predictable, it makes you manipulable, and you can no longer afford that luxury. When you stop justifying yourself, you break the cycle of manipulation. You diffuse the attack, you turn the tables. The energy that would be used to explain is now used to position yourself. And when you position yourself firmly and serenely, you begin to be perceived in a different way. The same team that saw you as fragile begins to see in you someone of respect, someone who knows what they're doing, that doesn't get into drama, that does not lose balance, who knows his worth. Now, let me make you a request. If you've ever been in a situation where you felt like you were being forced to explain yourself all the time, comment below. He writes, "I'm tired of justifying myself." Or if he wants to be more direct, he comments, "No explanations. Now it's posture." These phrases, in addition to showing me that you are with me so far, will help other people to identify with them too, because what you have lived, many people live in silence. And this space here is for us to break this cycle of silence and start strengthening together. And I want you to stay until the end of this video, because the next part will give you the emotional shielding technique, the one that makes saboteur frustrated. That turns you into someone emotionally protected. That makes others think twice before trying to hit you. But before I give you this, I need you to understand, the emotional shielding technique is not just an answer to the now. It is a new way of existing within toxic environments. It is an invisible shield that protects your mind, your energy, and your professional dignity. And believe me, when you master this technique, everything changes. You stop being seen as someone fragile and start being perceived as someone who carries a kind of silent power, a power that bothers those who depend on chaos to remain visible. Let's get straight to the point. The first thing you need to do is recognize the pattern of the emotional attack. That's right, every saboteur, and here I'm talking about jealous colleagues, manipulative bosses, toxic teammates, they follow patterns. No one wakes up and sabotages someone out of nowhere. There is a strategy, even if unconscious, and this strategy is based on emotional triggers. The saboteur does not act in argument, he acts in subtlety. He throws jokes disguised as a joke. It excludes you from important conversations. He throws a phrase in the air that makes you uncomfortable and then pretends it was nothing. The emotional attack in the workplace is done in small doses, like poison. It doesn't kill you all at once, but weakens you little by little. Therefore, the first step is to develop a sharp conscience. When you start to notice the pattern, when you identify that that colleague only comes with acid comments, when you're around the boss, or that person always spouts opinions about you to others as if they're just helping, you stop reacting automatically. You stop falling into the traps. You start to see the movement behind the action. And that in itself is already an act of protection. Now comes the second step, the look of conscious contempt. And here, I want you to understand that this is not arrogance. This is strategy. There is a specific look, and anyone who has been through sabotage knows this, that disarms the saboteur instantly. It's that look that says, "I saw you, and you don't shake me." This kind of look does not need a word. It is presence. It's posture. It's that you look at that person not with anger, but with a calm, firm, silent kind of contempt. A conscious contempt, which does not manifest itself in shouting or arguing, but in a simple exchange of glances that puts the other person in their place. And why does it work? Because the saboteur feeds on your reaction. He expects to see you nervous. He expects you to fight back, expects you to respond. When you break this cycle, when you show that you are not going to enter the game, authority changes sides. The energy changes, the environment changes, and little by little, the people around them also begin to realize this. Those who were previously in doubt about you begin to notice the difference between someone who imposes himself with balance and someone who lives in a dirty game. And then we come to the third step. Perhaps most importantly, build an attack-proof reputation. That doesn't mean being perfect. It means being consistent. It means that your professional image needs to be so solid, so well built, that any attempt to sabotage you seems forced. Let any gossip about you sound like a joke. May any attempt to tarnish your image lose steam before it even gains traction. And this is built every day, with consistency, with posture, with delivery, with alignment between what you say and what you do. You need to become a presence that is difficult to discredit, and this only happens when you take care of your reputation as someone who takes care of an asset. Your reputation is what protects you when you're not around. It's what speaks for you in meetings where you weren't invited. It's what imposes itself even when they try to erase you. And when it is strong, no one can stain it with loose words or cheap intrigues. On the contrary, those who try get burned. Now, you may be wondering, okay, but how do I do this in practice? How do I recognize these patterns, maintain this posture, and still take care of my reputation if the environment around me is completely toxic? And I understand that fear. I know how suffocating it is to work in a place where any movement of yours can be used against you, where you have to think twice before giving an idea, where you're afraid of even sounding too enthusiastic because you know that's enough for someone to want to cut you off. But that's exactly why the emotional shielding technique works, because it does not depend on the environment, it depends on you. It is an internal change, which then manifests itself externally. And when that happens, you start to realize something powerful. You stop being an easy target. Saboteurs continue to exist, yes. The environment remains toxic, yes. But you stop being fragile. You become respected, or at least feared. And that, in an environment of conflict at work, is what protects you. And I want you to understand this once and for all. It's not by being nicer that you're going to be respected. It's not by explaining yourself. It's not trying to please. It's not by diminishing yourself. Respect comes when you set invisible boundaries, when you master your emotional, when you become emotionally unreachable. And when that happens, the saboteurs notice, they feel it, and they know that you are no longer the same. The technique of emotional shielding transforms you. It changes the way you see yourself, and consequently, it changes the way others treat you. When you master this technique, you begin to walk differently, speak differently, occupy your space more firmly, and this generates a wonderful side effect. The people around you start to respect you even without understanding why. They feel that there is something different about you, something that imposes presence, that generates trust, that bothers those who wanted to see you small. If you've ever experienced a moment where you felt you urgently needed to change your posture at work, comment here now. He writes, "It's now. I'm going to shield my emotional." Or, if you want something more direct, you comment, "No one else is going to hit me." Because that comment may not seem like anything, but he is the beginning of your change. It is the moment when you stop being a spectator of your pain and start being the protagonist of your protection. And you can be sure this step makes all the difference. Now that you understand how the technique works, you're ready to take the next step. And that's what I'm going to show you about now. Now that you understand how the technique works, you're ready to take the next step. And I need to tell you one thing in all sincerity. After I learned this, no one ever managed to destabilize me. Nobody. The teasing kept coming. The mean comments didn't stop. The envy continued to exist. But I wasn't the same anymore. Because when you understand the game, you stop falling into it. When you activate your emotional shielding, you change frequency. You put yourself on another level. And in that place, the saboteur's weapons lose strength. And do you know what happens when you stop reacting on impulse? You get to lead your own narrative. You're no longer pushed by the opinion of others. You're no longer affected by those who want to see you fall. Because now, you know that whoever tries to bring you down, in fact, is only showing how small they feel around you. And the truth is this: toxic people can't stand those who have posture, who has clarity, who has inner power, because this type of person does not manipulate himself. You can't buy it. He does not remain silent, and that's exactly what you're becoming. Now it's your turn. Now it's up to you to decide whether to continue accepting the role of victim in your work, or if you'll finally take the lead role in your professional journey. You don't have to walk on eggshells anymore. You no longer need to repress who you are to fit into a sick environment. Its brightness is not a problem. Your competence is not arrogance. Their presence isn't intimidating. It just scares those who don't have the courage to grow up. And if you've made it this far in this video, it's because you're ready to change your posture, ready to get out of the cycle of emotional exhaustion, ready to say firmly, "No one else will hit me." And I want to invite you now to be part of something bigger. Here on this channel, we don't just talk about conflicts in the workplace. We create a space for strengthening, community, emotional, and professional growth. Here is the place where those who have suffered sabotage, persecution, exclusion, manipulation find acceptance, clarity, and real tools to protect themselves. So, if you are not yet registered, this is the time. Subscribe to the channel now, activate notifications, and guarantee that YouTube will continue to deliver content like this. Because this type of knowledge does not appear by chance, and his presence here is no coincidence either. You've come this far because deep down, you know it's past time to turn this game around. And I want to accompany you in this turnaround, and more. If you like this video, leave your like now. This helps the content reach more people who are also being silenced within toxic environments. People who, like you, need to learn to protect themselves. And look, when we share this type of content, we are not only helping ourselves, we are creating a movement for change, a network of professionals who no longer accept being crushed by dirty games, by envy, by corporate falsehood. And if this video made sense to you, comment below. Tell me, have they ever tried to knock you down at work? How was it? How did you react? Or, if you prefer to keep it private, comment with one of the phrases I'm going to suggest now to show that you're with me until the end. And at the same time, help others who are going through this to feel welcomed. He writes in the comments, "No one else will hit me," or "I activated my emotional shield." These comments seem simple, but they create a space of collective strength here in the comments. And you can be sure many people will read, identify, and strengthen themselves together with you. Because this channel is not just about videos, it's about transformation. And before you leave, let me make you one last invitation. Here on the side, the next video is showing on your screen. In it, I will tell the real story of a member who was sabotaged within his own team by someone who claimed to be a friend. What this person did was so calculated, so perverse, that it is capable of making you indignant. But the end of the story, you need to see it with your own eyes. Then click now, because I guarantee you, you will be surprised. I'll wait for you there in the next video. And remember, no one else will bring you down.